African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation on the 2nd of May, 2024. Yesterday, the armed forces of the Russian Federation in the city of Sumy, in the conditions of active counteraction by the Ukrainian armed forces with electronic warfare and foreign-made air defense systems, launched a strike with 2 Iskander-M operational tactical missiles at the location where the command staff of the Seversk operational tactical group was holding a meeting. As a result of the target hit, more than 60 Ukrainian armed forces servicemen were killed. The Kiev regime continues to use the Ukrainian population as a human shield, placing military installations and holding events with the participation of military personnel in the center of the densely populated city. Units of the North Group of forces in the Belgorod direction inflicted defeat on formations of a mechanized brigade, a coastal defense brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, and 2 territorial defense brigades in the areas of the settlements of Lesnoy, Maripolskoye, Petrushevka, and Prokody in the Sumy region. That the Ukrainian armed forces lost up to 95 servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, 3 cars, a field artillery gun, a multiple launch rocket system combat vehicle, and 3 electronic warfare stations. Units of the West Group of forces occupied more advantageous lines and positions and defeated the formations of 2 mechanized assault artillery brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and 2 territorial defense brigades in the areas of the settlements of Kupiansk, Borovaya, Kamenka in the Kharkiv region, Kirovsk, Karpovka, and Krasny Lyman in the Donetsk People's Republic. The Ukrainian armed forces lost up to 240 servicemen and 3 combat armored vehicles, including 2 U.S.-made M113 armored personnel carriers, 5 cars, and 2 artillery pieces. The Quartus electronic warfare station and 2 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the Southern Group of troops improved their tactical position, inflicted losses on the manpower and equipment of 2 mechanized and airmobile brigades, a regiment of unmanned aerial systems of the armed forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Petrovka, Kalinovo, Tarasovka, Chesavyar, and Kleben Byk of the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 315 servicemen, 4 combat armored vehicles, including a U.S.-made HMMWV armored vehicle, 13 vehicles, and a field artillery gun. 2 electronic warfare stations and 6 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the Center Group of forces occupied more advantageous lines and positions. They defeated formations of 3 mechanized brigades, an assault brigade, a brigade of unmanned systems, an assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine, a brigade of Marines, and 2 brigades of the National Guard in the areas of the settlements of Marilyabovka, Lysovka, Zvarivo, Rodinskoye, Krasnoarmysk, Kodlino, Udaknoy, Alexievka, and Preobrazhenka of the Donetsk People's Republic. The Ukrainian armed forces lost up to 420 servicemen, 5 armored combat vehicles, including 4 U.S.-made M113 armored personnel carriers, 6 cars, and 4 artillery pieces. Units of the East Group of forces continued to advance into the depths of the enemy's defense, inflicted losses on the manpower and equipment of 2 mechanized airborne assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, a Marine brigade, and 2 territorial defense brigades in the areas of the settlements of Shevchenko, Zeleny Kut, Zelenopol, Bogodar, Voskresenka of the Donetsk People's Republic, and Guliapol of the Zaporizhia region. The Ukrainian armed forces lost up to 165 servicemen, a tank, 5 vehicles, and 3 field artillery pieces. Units of the Dnieper Group of forces defeated formations of the mechanized mountain assault brigades and 3 coastal defense brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces in the areas of the populated areas of Novodanilovka, Pavlovka in the Zaporizhia region, Ponyatovka, Antonovka and Nikolskoye in the Kherson region down up to 55 servicemen, a U.S.-made M113 armored personnel carrier and HMMWV armored fighting vehicle, 7 vehicles, a U.S.-made 155mm howitzer M777, an electronic warfare station, an Israeli-made Rada radar station, and 4 ammunition depots were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile forces, and artillery of the Russian armed forces groups have damaged workshops of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex, the infrastructure of a military airfield, storage sites for weapons and ammunition of the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and mercenaries in 137 districts. Air defense systems shot down 6 JDAM guided aerial bombs and 3 U.S.-made HIMARS multiple launch rockets, as well as 227 aircraft-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 661 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 51,562 unmanned aerial vehicles, 601 anti-aircraft missile system, 22,833 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,536 combat vehicles of multiple launch rocket systems, 23,602 field artillery pieces and mortars, 34,087 units of special military vehicles. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.